Okay, ladies and gents, welcome back to part 3 of the RC Banjo build that we're constructing. It's a free plan out of the RCM&E magazine, and it makes an ideal club build, I think, for the novice builder. So I just want to take you back and give you a slight recap on where we were. We're constructing the wing at the moment, as you can see. The wing is now being glued together. Each plank, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, have all been glued together, as you can see. And I've also bandsawed round the outside diameter to the scribed line. You can also see the, if I turn around that way you'll see it better. You can see parts 7 and 8, which are the elevons at the back of the model that give you the steering. I've cut those out also. The only thing left to do on the wing is to glue this joint here on the tail piece of the wing, and also sand a nice sort of leading edge to the wing, which is shown on the drawing. If I can show you there, zooming in, there you go, that's the leading edge sort of section shape. The only thing else to do is to cut this square out here, which notches into the fuselage, but I'll leave that till a later date until we've got the fuselage. We know exactly what size to cut it to then, so we'll take that on board a bit later on throughout the build. I'd just like to explain some of the glues that we're using in the build, or some that I use anyway. I think every decent modeler should have these glues, so if you want to buy it up front and keep them in your kit box for a later date, they'll always come in useful. First up, I use the Z epoxy glue. It's a 5-minute glue, this one. You can get it in I believe 15-minute and 30-minute variants, but I generally use the 5-minute glue because I like to sort of crack on with what I'm doing. You use this glue in sort of high strength areas like engine bays, firewalls, undercarriage parts, anything that's going to take a bit of a bashing or needs to be a bit extra strong. Always good to have by you. Next up is the aliphatic resin. I think every old time builder like myself has used aliphatic. The advantage of aliphatic is when you glue parts together, if they require sanding at a later date to give a final shape, it's very easy to sand, whereas some of the glues like your Sinos and also your epoxy type glues are very hard. So when you come to use sandpaper on it, you tend to dig into the soft balsa part rather than sand the actual glue down, so it can be a bit tricky sanding your part, so something just to be aware of there. It does take longer to dry obviously than your Sino glues, but it makes for a good joint and it's quite flexible. It only takes a couple of hours to go off, so it really does pay dividends when you're doing this sort of work. And that's the glue that I've used on the wing. Moving on to the Sino glues. Comes in 3 variants, as you probably know. You've got the thin, the medium and the thick. The thin is very, very good for like gluing hinges, which we're going to do later on the wing for the elevons, etc., and the rudder, because it does penetrate deeply into the wood and also goes off very fast. Medium is good for a general purpose sort of glue, good for sheeting models because it's got a bit of viscosity there, and it also goes off quick. And obviously you've got the thick Sino there, which it will gap fill to a certain extent as well, which is quite handy. Next to that you'll see is the Howden's Mitre Bond. I use this as a Sino accelerator, even though it goes off pretty quick anyway. If you get a part that needs to go off super quick, just give it a little spray with that and it just kicks the CA glue into action. The next glue that I use is the 3M spray mount glue, which you'll see me using later on when we come to manufacture the fuselage. I use that to spray on the balsa and to glue the plan down onto the balsa part that I'm making, or fuselage side, former, whatever. The reason for that is it holds the paper plan onto the part really, really well. And also you can peel it off afterwards quite easily because it doesn't set as in, you know, super duper hard like, so you can just peel the paper off after you've sort of finished with it. So really good sort of handy glue to have. Sellotape, I'm using that on this model. I've used the sellotape on the wing. I'll show you how we did that. And obviously because of the size of the wing, I won't show you on there, but I've made a little bit of a demonstration here. We're going to glue these two parts together like that, like we've done on the planking of the wing. And how I do that is, firstly I hold the two parts together with sellotape. I don't know if I can do this without it moving, but we'll give it a go. I've got a length of sellotape. Just put it on your parts. It's a bit hard to do one-handed, but you'll get the idea. Stick it on the back of the part like that, and then turn the part over. All you have to do then is to open the joint, put the glue in the joint, close it back up, and then you'll have a nice sort of flush fit. Everything's held together with the sellotape underneath, and it also stops the glue from running through the joint onto your work table, so the part doesn't stick to your work table. So that's what we're going to do now on the actual model. I've done the same. If I just move the elevators out of the way, this little tail piece I've sellotaped at the back to make the hinge. I'm going to run the aliphatic glue down that joint, close it up like so. As you can see, the joint's really nice and tight, and we'll leave that for a couple of hours just to set. Okay, that's about it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed part 3, just a little bit more of an insight on how to finish the wing off. And if you have enjoyed it, please feel free to subscribe and catch up with me on the further videos of making the fuselage, etc. Okay folks, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you soon.